Anonymous office to interview Stephen Agnew, the candidate for the Green Party for the European elections. Okay. Hi.
Hi.
How would you like to be addressed for the interview?
Stephen's fine.
Okay. Could you tell us a bit about yourself? Any interesting facts or stories?
Any interesting facts? Well, I'm Belfast born, but I live in Bangor now. Interesting stories. Well, I suppose I got into the Green Party. Might be of interest to people. In 2003, leading the lead up to the Iraq War, I was on a protest march against the Iraq War, and I met the then leader John Barry, who told me about the Green Party and what they stood for, and I found a lot of what he said sort of fitted in with a lot of what I thought. Before then, I actually didn't think I had any interest in politics, but the stuff he was talking about was stuff I cared about, and I realised this stuff is politics. It just wasn't being discussed in Northern Ireland. So that's kind of how, the beginnings of me ending up here.
If you're elected, how would you represent the interests and views of young people in Northern Ireland? I
think so it's a difficult time to be a young person. I certainly feel, I still consider myself relatively young, although, maybe now I have to accept I'm a fully fledged grown-up. But, I think there's a lot of discrimination against young people, and I think that needs to be challenged. We've seen recently people being barred from supermarkets for wearing GAA tops. Before that it was hoodies. We've heard of these mosquito alarms to disperse young people. I think we've built a society where there's no room for young people. The example I always give is when I was a young person, I think it's true of most young people, the big thing I was into was music. But if you want to go to a music concert, they're normally held in bars. So you either have to go in accompanied by an adult, which if you're a teenager, you're unlikely to want to go with your parents. And if, and so otherwise you're barred from it. Yet I used to work in a music store, and the vast majority of people buying music were teenagers, yet they're somehow barred from those. What we need is more activities for young people, and not... people do these things with the best intention, but sometimes there's things put on for young people. And I know you're smiling and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And they've no interest in these things that are being put on for them, because it's not what they asked for, it's not what they want. People that... music's the example, because that was the passion for me when I was young. It still would be a passion for me. And I think while we bar young people from every space in our society, specifically by licensing every venue available for any entertainment, then I think we're pretty much pushing them to the margins, and then there will be antisocial behaviour. We'll only tackle that if we start to build societies where young people are included.
Okay. What is your policy on the Lisbon Treaty?
First person actually to ask me this. European election, it's the first time I've been asked. I broadly support the Lisbon Treaty, and I happily tell you why. I think in terms of human rights legislation, it would see the fundamental Charter of Rights being put into law, and I think that's a very important thing. We've seen the campaign here for the Bill of Rights. Well, this the Charter of Rights would ensure that that rights aren't just an aspiration, but they're actually required in law, and I think that's very important. I think it also moves, things like climate change and the environmental targets. It strengthens those. Because what we need is a unified Europe. We can't act on those just at a local level. I think it's important we do, but the Northern Ireland Assembly, even the UK government, can't tackle climate change on its own. It's an international issue, which is why we need to work, across nations on this. So, I support the Lisbon Treaty. It's not to say that it's perfect. There's in anything of its size and complexity, there's going to be compromises for everyone involved, and certainly there would be compromises for me. But I have to be honest with people. I know it's not popular to everyone, but I support the Lisbon Treaty.
Well, I was on your Bebo, and I was just kind of reading through. I was just wondering 3 things. Do you smoke cannabis? Because there's a comment from Cannabis NI, just wondering, do you really love Bangor? And do you have your own family?
Okay, I'll take those one at a time. The Cannabis Northern Ireland has been in touch with me regularly through both MySpace and Bebo, because they believe they're the one political party that supports them. I have to be honest in that I say I think there are advantages to decriminalising cannabis usage, but I think for me that's about, I grew up in an area where paramilitaries were the ones selling the drugs, and the biggest gateway that cannabis was for people, it wasn't a gateway to further drug use, it was a gateway to criminality. And I think that's a serious concern. But yes, I'm always worried if I keep getting comments from Cannabis Northern and have a cannabis leaf. In terms, do I love Bangor? Yeah, I think Bangor's a nice place. I'm a Belfast boy, and that's where my heart will remain. But I live in Bangor now. It's been good to me. It's nice people. My partner's from there, and she's the reason why I'm in Bangor. And do I have my own family? Well, that's why I moved to Bangor. I became a dad in October. It's been great, I have to say. It's not always easy, but every time I come home, I've got a big smiling baby to come home to, and he kicks his feet and he swings his arms, and that's something I look forward to at the end of a hard day's campaigning. So yes, I have my own family, and Bangor's not too bad.
Okay, do you have any closing comments or anything you'd like to add?
I suppose my final thing I would say is we do hear a lot of people spouting their green credentials, but if you scratch beneath the surface, you normally find that they're not as green as they pretend to be. If you want green, vote green. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.